Hello and good afternoon to everyone. Welcome to another library lunch hour. I'm Anibal Arocho, the library manager at the Center for Puerto Rican Studies Library and Archive. And for those of you that have joined us in the past, welcome. Welcome back. And you're in for a treat with today's library lunch hour. For those of you that are new, our library lunch hour is a series of webinars and lunchtime brown bag talks about a variety of topics pertaining to libraries, archives, and other Puerto Rican studies resources. And we like to have people who join us who have used Puerto Rican resources or institutions that also provide resources that are related to the Puerto Rican studies. And today we are very privileged to host the Clemente Museum live and direct from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We're joined by Dwayne Ryder, Rob Larson, and Zoe Fisher. Zoe Fisher. Welcome. How y'all doing today?
Thank you. Can you guys hear us? I don't know if our image is up on.
Yeah, there you are. Hey, how's it going?
Hello.
So please, if you just take a moment to introduce yourselves, and what you do at the Clemente Museum.
I can start. Hi, everyone. My name is Zoe Fisher. I'm the Community Outreach Manager for the Clemente Museum. I actually got my master's degree in Cultural Management and Administration from the University of Pittsburgh, Puerto Rico. And now I'm from Pittsburgh, so I moved back, and now I work here in the Clemente Museum. And I really just try to outreach within the Pittsburgh community, but also within the Puerto Rican community and getting us better connections within the island.
My name is Dwayne Reeder. I'm the Executive Director. I don't care for that title as much as founder. I got to work with Vera Clemente on a calendar in 1994. I'm a commercial photographer, as well as Rob here. And so through our photography business, we started helping her archive images and paperwork and things that were getting destroyed by hurricanes and storms and stuff. And so it then grew into a museum.
I'm Rob Larson. How you doing? I've worked with Dwayne for quite some time, kind of since inception of the museum. And I do a lot of the archiving, kind of design, media handling stuff here. Yeah, we put a lot of effort, a lot of time into taking stuff that was just kind of lost, damaged, and fixing it up and putting it on a wall, and making sure that people can actually see this stuff and engage with it.
That's excellent. I mean, we're all places of memory, archives, and museums. We're trying to maintain that evidence of history having occurred. Can I ask what drew you all to the world of Roberto Clemente? What role did he have in your life?
Well, I'm older than all of you guys. I got to see him play. I'm from northern Pennsylvania, and we could travel down to Pittsburgh if our little league team did well or something. You get a treat to get to go to a Pirate game. I got an autograph from Roberto in 1971, and he was one of, I idolized him and the whole 60s and 70s Pirates teams. And so 71, then, on New Year's Eve of 72, he dies. And so, I'm heartbroken at that moment. And, he's gone, and I'm a kid. And it took all these years to go by until 1994 when I do the calendar with the Clemente family. And that was the basis. We started archiving images from that moment on. And it just meant so much to, for us to be connected to Roberto and the family and the Clemente boys. And so we've worked hard to acquire everything that we can. Roberto Clemente film. We're mostly into film as photographers. We want to go to the source. We want to get to the original. And so we want the piece of film, the black and white film, the color transparencies, the original wire photos. And so we started collecting those. Thank God we did it in the 90s. Now you can't afford to collect those things. They're the price of an original photo of Roberto, if it's encapsulated, it's $10,000. And so thank God we were doing it to help Vera and the family with photos, because everything in the Clemente house, when I'm down there photographing, everything was getting wet and moldy.
Yeah.
And that's when my heart broke. And I was like, Vera, I can help you by taking the photos back to Pittsburgh and looking for the photographers, the newspapers, the magazines. And so that's kind of the whole beginning of the museum. It grew out of an archive. And now our mission statement is basically preserving the life and legacy of Roberto Clemente. And we work with the Clemente family in doing that. They are the legacy. We're just the archive that wants to help keep everything safe. That's our goal.
You know, when you mentioned about the humid conditions and the detrimental effect that they have on the objects, we definitely see that as well. We've had some collections that we've gotten from Puerto Rico where it's just the nature of the tropics, right? It's the nature of the island, the level of humidity, and just in general, it's something that individuals struggle with, and it's something also that like big institutions like the Instituto de Cultura Puertorriqueña also struggles with. So it's incessant. So it's so incredible and noble that you guys are trying to preserve that, and that you saw that that was a necessity as well, which is important. Um, we are also live on Facebook, so hi to everybody that is watching us through Facebook. Um, I want to take a moment. I noticed that there's a Roberto in the chat as well. There's a Roberto, and I'd like to say that Roberto is in spirit with us today as well. And if you'd like to take a moment, the people in the chat, just if you want to just check in and let us know and where you're checking in from, where you're at. Are you in Puerto Rico? Are you here in the States? Are you in Pittsburgh? Just let us know. So you touched upon the mission of the museum. Can you go a little bit into the collections and what sort of objects, ephemera, artifacts can people expect to find when they visit you?
Well, I can tell you that we've got the largest collection in the world. I mean, there's a couple of private collectors that have some pretty nice things, but we have 12,000 square foot. We're in an old historic fire station that was built in the 1800s. So it's a great building. It has a lot of space, a lot of wall space. We probably have 450 photos, beautiful images on the walls. So that's going to be the main thing you see are the images. But of course, we started collecting bats, uniform pieces, hats, cleats. We've got 2 pair of Clemente's game cleats here that are just amazing. We have 2 of the silver sluggers. We have the 1961, his original silver slugger, and 64 silver slugger. And then we have right now, today, we have 6 of his gold gloves. We have a goal right now is to get all 12 of them here, either via on loan, on either if we have to purchase them. However, our goal is to try to get all 12 gold gloves together. They haven't been together since the mid-90s when I photographed him in the house. And the amazing thing of that is that he won 12 gold gloves. That's a feat that only him and Willie Mays did. And so we've got like great things, but the building itself is just fantastic. We have a super hero of the New York Yankees, slept here in 1927, Lou Gehrig, which kind of ties in the story because he's one of the only 2 players to bypass that 5-year waiting list to the Hall of Fame, right? Of course, Roberto Clemente and Lou Gehrig. He sleeps here in 1927. And a lot of Puerto Ricans are Yankee fans, and when they come here, we had 1,000 of them last September for Clemente Day. They all had their Yankee hats on, but they loved Clemente. They might have a Clemente shirt and a Yankee hat. And so it's just kind of a nice story in the way we found some history about this building, because we're also trying to find as much information about this property, and we're looking for photos. Hopefully we can find a photo of Lou Gehrig in this firehouse someday. But you will see some incredible images and items here when you come, and we do guided tours so that you get the Clemente story. A lot of people have Clemente photos, but to get the story that we have stitched together through Vera Clemente and the Clemente boys and the rest of the family and players that have played with Roberto, Manny Sanguillen and Steve Blass still live in Pittsburgh, and they come here all the time. And we're always able to unearth a new story, a little tidbit of information something about Roberto, what he was doing behind the scenes. And so that's the part we love telling the story of Roberto as a humanitarian. Everyone knows he got 3,000 hits. We want to tell the story of Roberto Clemente, the human.
Absolutely, and thanks for sharing about the building itself. That was one of my questions, because you guys, it's a unique space to say the least. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of the museum to Pittsburgh, and if you want to expand beyond that, what can you talk about the importance to the baseball community at large?
I'll take my last question and I'll let these guys go, I promise. And it's because I've been doing this so long, and I kind of deal, I'm the nighttime watchman here. And so I get to deal with all the players that come. And now Zoe's on board. She can talk to a lot of the Latino players. A lot of them, bring the interpreter, and they don't really talk to me as much, but now that Zoe is here, she can get them to open up and talk about this place. And so the teams come, the players come, the Pirates come here. The fans come when they hear that. So the Yankee fans came because they heard that Aaron Judge was here and the team. So literally the Yankee bus will pull up out front after the game. It's hard for them to come before a game, and definitely not during, but they'll come after the game. So we'll get the players to come here, 11:30 at night, and we will be giving them a tour at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and walking them around and talking about Roberto Clemente. And so when they then leave here, and maybe they buy the shirt, so Aaron Judge wears the shirt in the clubhouse and batting practice. Well, people say, Aaron, why are you wearing 21? You're number 99. He then talks about Roberto Clemente. So for us, this shirt, all the teams, they're all buying and wearing the shirt. Each year we pick a team's colors. And we'll make a 21 shirt in red and white. We made it for the Dodgers before. We're probably going to make them for the Dodgers again for this year, because we're hoping to get Ohtani over here. If he wears the 21 shirt, the brand is out there to the whole world. The Japanese love baseball, love Clemente. We're fearing right now that the one missing gold glove that we definitely don't know where it is, we think it's in Japan.
Wow.
And we're hoping Ohtani can help us get the word out to maybe get that person to let us have the glove here on loan. And so,
I mean, if anybody can, it's Ohtani, right?
Yes,
There's no greater voice there.
the photographers are going to be coming with him wherever he goes. And so we built this brand on this number here that has become magical with all the players and fans. And it really is, it's growing, and it's helping keep Roberto's legacy alive. It really is.
And I mean, the funny story, people wonder, like, why did Roberto Clemente choose the number 21? And it's because it's the letters in his name.
Yes.
Roberto Clemente Walker. It's 21 letters, so number 21. We've got we've got a pretty interesting group of people. We have people from New York, New Rochelle checking in. We have someone from Mississippi, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, Fort Lauderdale, the Pitt campus, not too far from Forbes Field Wall. We got some people from Bayamon, Southern California, Washington, D.C., Brooklyn's here. What's up, Brooklyn? Durham, North Carolina, the Bronx, of course. And people here right here from not too far from us in East Harlem, here in Manhattan. So thanks. Well, hi again to those of you that are joining us now. We're here with the Roberto Clemente Museum out of Pittsburgh. Continuing our conversation, can you guys maybe each one of you select a different one, but are there any specific artifacts that resonate with you personally?
Yeah. I'm really drawn to everything we have that has anything to do with Puerto Rico. But there's, in particular, we have these photos of Roberto Clemente giving clinics around the island to kids that are just these beautiful photos, and you can see like the mountains of Puerto Rico in the background. But also I've gotten the opportunity recently to read his letters to Vera in Spanish. And those have really had an impact on me too, because you just kind of, you see a different side of him, especially when he's like speaking in Spanish to his wife, and you kind of get this glimpse into his life that maybe you don't see through like the baseball contracts and all of that. And that's like when Dwayne mentioned that, we really tell the story of Clemente here. That's so important because it really is his story that lives on. That's why there's a museum about him. There's not many other museums about one baseball player, but it's not all about his baseball career. It's really about his life and his story off the field too. So yeah, those are some of my favorite things in the museum.
Right on.
Oh, no pressure, no pressure.
Yeah.
I just love the, coming from a photography kind of design background, the film, the photos that we have, just some of the stuff, some of the, captures of Clemente through his playing career, just insanely good. Like you look at other photographs of players from that era, and Dwayne has said this a million times, that Clemente knew how to have his photo taken. He knew how to like pose himself. He knew how to look good in a photograph. And it was this like regalness to the guy. He had this like kind of like, you can see the photos behind us. You can see over there that proud as a peacock photo. The guy, he photographed well. He was a great athlete, great human, but there's something about the photography that we have, the images of him, the tactile, actual press prints, the negatives that we have. I'm just like a photo nerd, so I love that stuff. And I love whenever we have like a piece of memorabilia that comes in, something like a bat or a glove, that we can pull through our archive and we can look through film and photographs and we can go, oh man, there's that photo of him wearing that, or there's that bat. There's something like super cool about that. I love that. So yeah, definitely the film, that's the photography.
And I'll overlap with Rob on that story about how, if the proud as a peacock image there, the cutout. He had the announcer of the team, Bob Prince, take him to KDKA TV radio and be taught how to be photographed in the early 60s. So who does that? Roberto wanted every photograph that was going back to Puerto Rico to be good. He knew that his mom and dad were going to be seeing those images. He didn't get to see his parents during the season. They didn't want to travel here. They didn't want to leave Puerto Rico. His dad had to work. So he knew he wouldn't see him for 6 months, but he knew if he did well, they would put a photo of him in the newspaper. So every photo, they taught Roberto to look up, to look to the main light, to look to the sun. You can't look to the shadow side or look away from the light. Your face is very dark and it will go with a hat on, will go into shadow. So the man, probably the only baseball player ever, goes to the TV station and asks to be taught how to be photographed and interviewed so that he would look good. And so when you look through the photos that we have here, and as Rob and I are getting new negatives and we're scanning images and we're like, look at him, he's looking, he knows. And just that I got to find that out from the manager of the KDKA station, just because it was, I'm pretty sure Roberto helped hook this up. My father-in-law was the weatherman there, and he hooked me up with the station manager who had this connection to Roberto, and he gave me that story. No one else gets that story. It was like a needle in a haystack. And so that's why the photos to us, they're so precious. However, I would say the 61 Silver Slugger Award that's here, I was born in 1961, and I had it presented to me by Vera Clemente to be here in this museum. And so just the way that it came about, we had a party here for the All-Star game in 2006, and we transformed my photography studio into what is the museum today. We did it for her party. We really wanted to honor her and make her proud. And so when she came in for the party, she was just like, wow, it's like a museum here now. And we were all like, could we do that? Are we allowed to just make it a museum? So we did. So the next day we opened up basically as a museum. It took a few years to get the name Clemente Museum all together, but we were just the Clemente collection at Engine House 25 for the first 2 years. And then we became a 501c3, a nonprofit, and then we were off to the races. So it all started with that 61 Silver Slugger Award. So that's kind of my favorite piece.
That's great. I mean, it must be impossible to choose. It's like, which is your favorite child type situation.
Yeah.
You know, Clemente is such a titanic figure in to Puerto Ricans and um to everyone, to every American. He should be someone that we look up to and admire, and in terms of his legacy as a humanitarian, and not just as one of the greatest ball players to ever have lived. And it's one of the topics that people come to Centro and ask about as well. When we are the Center for Puerto Rican Studies, one of the topics of interest is popular culture and sports, and Centro, and in the library we have a really great collection of books about Roberto Clemente. And I was showing before we started the webinar, I was showing you all some of our books. So we have like this new book, Clemente en de Víspera de su Gloria. We've got I'm just gonna go through these pretty quick. We've got David Maranise's book, Clemente. We've got the Cal Wagenheim book here. We've got the Pirate's Reader. We've got if you're a fan of Santurce Cangrejeros, we've got the Santurce book. We've got the children's book that was recently banned and subsequently unbanned because, that was ridiculous.
Yes.
We have El Astro Boricua. And so, in addition to that, something that I found, we don't, the one thing we really don't have is we don't have an archive or much archival material about Roberto Clemente, because that's where an organization like the Clemente Museum comes in. But what we do have is, like, we have an exceptional, and my colleagues in the chat will be putting a link to that book list. So all these books that I'd show you and more, we're going to put a PDF in the chat so you can see what we have. But something that really stood out to me, and when I knew that I was going to sit down with the Clemente Museum, I was like, well, what can I possibly bring them that maybe they haven't seen before? So what I'm going to show you and show the audience here is some really cool clippings that I found. So what I decided to investigate using the resources that we have here at Centro are newspaper clippings from the Puerto Rican press, from 3 newspapers specifically: El Imparcial, which is a Puerto Rican newspaper; El Mundo, which is another Puerto Rican newspaper; and El Diario La Prensa, which was his Puerto Rican / Hispanic newspaper, which is here in New York. And I was just curious, like, how did the newspaper coverage, how did they cover his passing and the tragedy behind that? So I'm going to share that, and I'm just going to cycle through this. I'm going to try to go really quickly because I know we don't have a ton of time left. But again, this link with these clippings will be in the chat as well. So please feel free to check them out at your leisure. And so let's see if I zoom in a little bit more. So this is the cover of El Diario La Prensa. This is from January 2nd. And it was just like cover to cover. This newspaper was like coverage. It's basically stop the presses, and everything in this newspaper is going to be about Clemente. And it really is. Let's see here. Let's see if I can put the next one. Let's cycle through these. There we go. Talking about Clemente's legacy and how he cared for the children. About the 3 days of mourning that was instituted by the island. And they called him a hero and a martyr. This is the centerfold of that issue of January 2nd, pages 16 and 17. So just a variety of different images. And I know as we were going through these, there were a lot of images that you guys have never seen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there's stuff in here that we've, obviously we've seen some of the, pretty much 2/3 of this page we've
Yeah.
seen.
Right.
But the top 2, we have in the top middle and top right, the team shot.
Right. And
Obviously,
this upper this upper left photo, it really exemplifies what you were saying about how he knew how to be photographed.
Yeah,
100%, yeah.
And he knew how to wear his uniform as well. Like he kept in impeccable shape throughout his entire career. Um,
yes,
and if you look at pictures of some of the other players, like they're, like kind of schlubby, the uniform's kind of hanging off of them, like chewing tobacco and that sort of thing. And I don't think I've ever seen an unbecoming picture of Roberto Clemente.
no, there's only one in it because someone was dumping champagne on his head in the 71 World Series celebration locker room.
Yeah.
That's one bad photo.
And here in this page, you there's an article about his teammates and the pain that they're feeling and what they're going through. Um, and I gotta say, when I'm going through this microfilm, it does displace you in time, and you really do feel like it's something that happened recently. And just the affect, the feeling that you get, like after I was done with this, I was like, I felt very like emotionally wiped out, as well, um, and it wasn't easy. I'll say that. And this is I believe the uh, back page of that issue. Um, some more photographs there. This is the following day. They continued the coverage with another two-page spread. Um, this was interesting here. It says redactores baseball tratan aceptar a Clemente en el Hall of Fame. So even as early as January 3rd, baseball writers are already trying to get him into the Hall of Fame. So like, this is amazing. Like he had such an influence and impact on everyone that um you know who knows how many more years he would have gone on to play, but he was a certified Hall of Famer even then. Um, this is from another one from El Diario. Just talking about how his contemporaries thought that he was the best of all time. Like he even impressed superstars such as Hank Aaron. Um, and this is from El Imparcial. This is the final hours of Roberto Clemente, and this was him with a community. Um, and some candids of him in a non-baseball context. This is the cover of El Mundo from January 2nd, 1973. Um, and again, cover to cover coverage of his passing. Um, I don't think there's been a better player in baseball. Um, and then just more photographs, and it just was such a catastrophic shock to everyone. I asked my own father what it was like when it happened, and he said it was difficult to put into words the shock that everyone felt. Um, and yeah, so those are some of the resources that we have at Centro that can complement some of the things that you all have at the Clemente Museum. Um, I wanted to talk a little bit more about Clemente's legacy. Um, how do you feel like his experience as a Puerto Rican player in Major League Baseball helped to shape who he was in terms of his activism?
I can say something. So, he was a Black Puerto Rican and he arrives to Pittsburgh and he has to kind of form a community in Pittsburgh and he doesn't speak English perfectly and he's also Black in the city. And I think that a lot of, and this is just me thinking, but I think that that's kind of why he has this humanitarian legacy, is because, he was not always treated correctly.
Mhm.
And so I think that he kind of wanted to make sure that nobody ever felt like how he was sometimes feeling. Also, I just think that him being like so overtly, proudly Boricua is something really cool about him. And I think that, that shows throughout his whole entire life of how he always wanted to like represent Puerto Rico and that everything he did kind of was for Puerto Rico.
And what do you want people to take away from a visit to the Clemente Museum?
A lot of things.
Yeah.
That's a hard question.
The truth about Roberto, because there's definitely a few things out there that, that he was a, malingerer, gold bricker, complained about his ailments or something, where Mickey Mantle never said a word. I tell everybody, God bless Vera Clemente, she was on our board of directors, and if you Zoomed her in for a meeting and you ask how she was doing, as you know, Puerto Ricans will tell you the truth on how they're doing, right? They honestly, Roberto felt if the writer said to him, "Hey, Roberto, how you feeling?" He actually thought the person wanted to know, not, we hear kind of, "Oh, I'm good. Yeah, how are you?"
Yeah.
Roberto say, "Well, I still have those bone spurs in my elbow and my back." He was in an accident on New Year's Eve of 54 that would have destroyed anyone else's career. He somehow endured and got through his 18-year career with 3,000 hits, playing with some injuries. And so we like to tell people the truth, about these stories, and anything that's out there that's slightly negative, we definitely want to change that to the truth. So we want to tell everybody, we have a propeller from the plane here, and it's a very emotional piece.
Oh, geez. Wow.
A lot of people, the reason we had to have it here, and thank God the Clemente family agreed that we should have it here, it's to tell the truth about the plane crash. A lot of Pittsburghers, Puerto Ricans, know their parents and grandparents were on the shore looking for the plane. Puerto Ricans know that they didn't find that, his body, but pieces of the plane were pulled up on deck of that Coast Guard ship. Pittsburghers think they never found the plane.
Mm-hmm.
And other Americans that are just traveling through, so we want to make sure that the plane was found. Roberto's body was not found, just like he was predicting his whole adult life, that he would crash in that, die in a plane crash in the ocean, and his body wouldn't be found. So when you hear that from Vera Clemente and everybody that knew him, he was telling the reason he's doing the Proud as a Peacock on that image right there, which is fantastic. He's already asked the two Carols from Philadelphia to be in Puerto Rico on New Year's Eve, to be with Vera when the plane crashes, because he wanted them to help Vera take care of the kids. And they were there, and I'm friends with them. And they came here with Vera. And so I got these stories from the horse's mouth. And so we want to tell the real story of Roberto Clemente and make sure there's no stories out there about, something negative. We want to correct, anything that's out there that's not right. So we tell the real story of Roberto Clemente to people here that might have heard pieces of it, but not the whole thing stitched together.
That's very true. I mean, anyone can write or publish an article or a book, or but to really get the evidence of that history, the materia prima of history, is what I always like to tell the students that come through here. You need to go to museums, you need to go to archives, and then you get to see the actual evidence of history having occurred. Unfortunately, this is such a broad topic, and we're running out of time. So I have I guess one more question, and then we're gonna go to the Q&A, because I know we have some questions that are coming up. But just really quickly, one anecdote that really stuck with me when I was doing a little bit of research before our event today was that when the people of the South Bronx discovered that Clemente had passed away, they started to load up trucks with donations to Nicaragua. And they sent trucks of material of much needed humanitarian relief material to Nicaragua. And these are people that were undergoing their own humanitarian crisis in a way. The Bronx's burning era of the Bronx. And he had such a deep impact that they wanted to preserve his legacy by continuing his donations, by making sure the people of Nicaragua didn't go without. So I guess one of the last questions that I get, one of the many questions that I get here as a librarian, is people ask me, like, well, what's left to research? Like, what research can I possibly do? What new or novel topics can I explore? What topics around Clemente would you say are underrepresented and might offer interesting research opportunities for our young scholars?
I have one that I have been talking about recently, actually, and it's appropriate because we're in Black History Month right now. But we've been really trying to look for like more evidence and more photos and more stories about, Roberto Clemente's involvement with the Black community and especially with Martin Luther King Jr. We're looking for photos right now. We know that they probably exist. So if anybody has any idea where a photo of Roberto Clemente and MLK Jr. is, let us know. But even, I was talking with Revista Etnica in Puerto Rico, and there's so many untold stories about Roberto Clemente's humanitarianism with the Black community. And I think that's kind of a place that would be interesting to research more and try to get more evidence of and really put together something concrete and solid.
Thanks so much. I mean, that's gold right there. So if there are any burgeoning baseball scholars or Clemente scholars, there you go. Zoe just gave you a really good path to go down. So we want to wrap it up. We're gonna have a couple of questions. One, people want to know, where do you get those shirts from? They're beautiful.
Well, the shirt store.
We make these in-house.
Yeah, we do. We fill all our orders and everything. So
I mean, we don't make them. We design them here, and we sell them on our shop. It's part of the, it's part of the ways that we just keep the lights on here and we can, continue doing what we do. So yeah, if you want a shirt that looks like this, just go to our website, humanitarian.com.
Or hat.
Or socks. Everybody got the socks.
No underwear yet.
Put the socks.
So from your head to your feet, you can be decked in Clemente gear.
Yeah.
Can you tell us where you're located and how can people arrange to have a tour?
Rob?
Yeah, we're Pittsburgh, PA. We're located in the Lawrenceville neighborhood in this luxurious firehouse that was built in 1896. You can book tickets online, again, clementemuseum.com. Everything is timed, so we have 4 dates and times set up already.
Right now, oh, sorry.
No, go for it.
Just during these slower winter months, we're just doing like our timed tours. But during the summer, we do now have open houses where, we kind of open up the museum and you can explore on your own, come in as you please. It's honestly, I recommend doing both, like a guided tour and then, coming back in the summer and doing an open house, because the guided tour is nice because you get the story, and then the open house, you just have as much time as you want to kind of look around at everything.
We line the open house up with when the team is in town playing someone new. So we pick a Saturday and we'll have slots all during the day, and then you go to the game. So people are all in town from, the New York Mets send 1 million people here, and we get them all in, and they all have their Mets uniforms on, maybe with a Clemente hat or something. So we try to set it up when the Pirates are home. So come catch a game at the beautiful PNC Park, and come here for an open house or book a tour, and it's definitely worth it.
And I myself have to make an effort to make it to over to you guys. It's definitely overdue. I want to thank Zoe, Dwayne, and Rob. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to share with us and to share with the Central community a little bit about the Clemente Museum and about what it is that we, as information professionals and as protectors of historical memory, are doing together, and how we support one another and how our collections complement one another. Again, if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out to centro.library@hunter.cuny.edu about whatever you heard today. If you'd like to make an appointment to view some of those clippings that I showed you, or other newspapers, or if you have any questions or you need any clarification, or maybe you didn't get a chance to get your Q&A question answered because we ran out of time, you can email us, and I'll make sure that the staff over at Clemente Museum get your message and get your questions. And as always, thank you for taking time out of your day, out of your lunch hour, to spend it here with the library at the Center for Puerto Rican Studies. And definitely stay tuned to our newsletter as we have other interesting topics and guests upcoming for the library lunch hour. Thank you for everyone again. Thank you to our panelists. And for those of you that might have gotten in late, there will be a YouTube version of this made available shortly, which will be on the Centro's YouTube channel as well. So thanks again, everyone. Make sure that you live every day the way Roberto Clemente played right field. All right,
Thank you, everybody.
everybody.
Thank you.